For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you a bit of a review video on a brand new awning from Vango. So with me here today I've got the Vango Tailgate Air Hub, well it's Tailgate Hub I should say. So I say new, it's new in a way, so it's almost like an updated version. We've had the Tailgate Hub over the few years ago, about 2 or 3 seasons ago, and they've almost brought it back into range but with some tweaks. So now what we've got is a tailgate hub, i.e. a fit on a tailgate of a vehicle, be it a kind of camper van as it did previously, or you can fit it on the side of the vehicle as well. And I'll just give you a bit of an idea. Obviously, as we have it now, what I've done is I've put it on an SUV. It'll still fit like a normal camper van as well because it uses the height fitment range. But you can put it on the side of the vehicle if you want to, and it looks something like this. So if you want to see it in its full flesh on the side of the vehicle and how it kind of looks, check out the old video we've done on the tailgate hub from a couple of years ago, because that way it shows you on its side profile, but I want to do something a bit different, hence why I put it on an SUV, because that's one of its main new features with the tailgate. So the tailgate hub is actually kind of a drive-away awning. Now, the joys of this drive-away is that it'll fit to a camper van or now a car. The main body of it is 2.5 by 2.5 meters. So that's your main hub, and then you've got an extra kind of about 1.90 meters depth that will allow you to connect onto a vehicle of some sort. Gives you enough amounts that you can get a tailgate up within it. Admittedly, if you've got barn doors, it will still kind of just about accommodate that. You've just got to be a bit careful when you open those barn doors in that tunnel section. The material runs with is actually a 75 denier material, runs about 3,000 mil high to the head, around about sort of 68 grams per square meter. Now, it's a nice waterproof fabric, and it's something that pretty much Vango's pole range has been around for a while. Difference being actually it's now got Colour Lock Eco built into the material. Now, this essentially is a difference in kind of the dyeing process when they fabricate the fabric itself. What they do is they actually dye the yarn before it's woven into the fabric. So it means you get better colour retention throughout the life of the product. So it's going to look sharper for longer. Basically, Vango have been really quite clever in trying to make it as simple as possible to say things like pitch and identify things. So your main kind of pegging points are these webbing straps which are coloured in Vango orange. And that's kind of your main first points you're going to peg. We've done a pitching video onto the SUV which you can check out as well. Naturally, when you go onto kind of a vehicle and you're using like a clip system around it, it's a little bit more complex, takes a little bit more time to pitch than it would say just feeding something onto a rail on the van itself. So in terms of the height fitment range, you've got a bit of a range you can look at fitting in. The official kind of fitment range is 180 to 210 in terms of height, and the span when you have it, the tunnel section fully, its full width is 190, but it can condense down to 120. This happens by basically sort of clips almost take up extra slack. So if you imagine that's kind of your rectangle, what you do is the top part goes in, so that, and it kind of funnels out a little bit. So what we have found here, and a bit of a disclaimer, I'm using this on a vehicle that's smaller than the recommendations. So what I've actually got is a 110 width, and I've got it down as far as I can go, and the height is around about sort of 160. So I'm much smaller than actually it should fit. And I think I've managed to do a little bit of tweaking here and there and use the Velcro straps to take a bit extra slack, but I think that generally fits well. This tunnel section really is just about giving you a sort of sheltered area to and from your awning to your main vehicle. So I think that works really quite nicely. And you've still got doors, access doors on the tunnel section on either side, which I can still get into. And a bit later on in the video, we'll bring the camera around, look inside of it and talk through the internal features of the model itself. So one thing is we're talking about attachment methods. So most people really for a tailgate are going to utilise the straps that come supplied with it. They're about 8.5 meters long, plenty of length, so you can just take that alongside the vehicle. So, and it basically just wraps around your car nice and snugly. There is also actually a CADA beading on it, so a beading which you feed directly into a rail. So if you want to put on the side of the van, you can more than happily do that as well by buying a fixing kit and going into a wind-out awning or failing that into a normal C rail. There's also Velcro loops, so if you've got roof bars, you can actually attach it onto the roof bars quite nice and neatly as well. Or failing that, you've also got a sleeve which you can put a pole and clamp kit in. So put a pole into it, clamp it into a gutter or a ream rail or a multi-rail of some sort. So multiple different ways of attaching it. If you're on the SUV front, really you're going to be looking at using the straps. That's going to be your main kind of function, because you won't probably, even you've got roof bars, I can use Velcro taps onto that, but it doesn't look quite as sharp. We've got fiberglass poles, 2 fiberglass poles that cross over. So the poles are exactly the same in terms of length, so you haven't got to worry about which one goes where. And like I said, you can see from our pitching video how kind of it took me to pitch. I think it was the best part of probably about 15 or so minutes. Most of that was trying to get the fit just right. Being as pedantic as I am, it's all about making it right. We've got pre-angled arch poles as well, so the pole itself got a pre-angled joint. This helps to increase interior height and give it a more boxy shape, and even though it's 2.5 by 2.5 meters, it's quite spacious generally inside. Clips, and also because you've got a smaller pole sleeve, it means it's easy to get the poles directly in and into the ringing pins at the bottom. High visibility guide lines, got like a 2-tonal guide line as well. PVC windows on either side, and there's also privacy curtains to get the privacy as and when you need it to. Let's bring the camera around actually and get a bit more of a better idea of how it looks straight down the point. So as we're looking at here, the kind of almost the front door, if you will, now, or the side door, back door, whatever you want to call it, we've got a plain blank door. Now this can open from right to left or left to right, depending on how you want to utilize it. Behind that said door is also a full frontaled mesh panel. So we can have a maximum amount of airflow into the awning itself. You have got a few zip pullers as well, so if you wanted to bring it down halfway, i.e. the door, like that, you can still utilize that as well. For me, I'm just going to kind of zip that down as low as it'll go, chuck the door inside. It doesn't literally roll up into little toggle points on the side here to kind of keep it neat and tidy. But again, the mesh door is your bug-free barrier. Now, it's worth mentioning, again, the same with the mesh door, it can go from left to right or right to left, depending on how you want to utilize it. For me, I'm just going to quickly just pop that down, chuck it in the corner and away. Now, you get a ground sheet supplied with the awning itself. It is a clipping ground sheet, so it clips in. It's not physically sewn in, so it gives you the opportunity to remove it if you wanted to, and kind of, yeah, utilize that as you will. Some councils can be a bit particular about whether the ground sheet is sewn in or not, so having this kind of, it's got like a bathtub style, so it does actually curve up at the corners and toggle just beneath the doorway. So it's not going to be as kind of thorough in terms of a seal as a sewn in ground sheet, but it gives you that bit of extra protection while still giving you the functionality of being able to remove it. So with the side windows, in theory, all the doors can zip sort of and roll to the side, so it could almost just be a gazebo. And because obviously the main tunnel section when you drive away can roll back, it would be like a standalone 2.5 by 2.5 gazebo. So you could use it in the garden if you wanted to, let alone connect it to a vehicle of any sorts. As previously mentioned, you've got PVC windows on the 2 side points, so here and here, and you can also get the privacy with the curtains when you want the windows nice and neatly open. You can just roll that up underneath it, toggle that in place, and then again you can utilize the brightness of that window as well. The back door into the section, same premise as the front door, opens from right to left or left to right, depending on how you want to utilize it. If I can find a zipper. Naturally, if you've got, say, like a sliding door, it's always best to kind of emulate whichever way it goes. So you can roll it like so. So then the door would slide back, and then this would be like a little corridor into the van itself. Because I'm using it on a tailgate, I'm just going to quite simply do my half job, bob job of going in the corner, and then we've got it nice and open. So then you can see when we've got the vehicle in nice and neatly here, and again, because we've got the tunnel section, we can then open it and see the mess we have inside, or even drop the tailgate down. So then you've got kind of your sheltered area into the main body. So again, it feels quite nice and cozy. This kind of main tunnel section is always never going to be completely weather tight, but it wraps around the car long enough that it's going to stop any sort of bits of wind and rain coming in. So with the tailgate up, it works really well. You've still got those access doors on either side of the tunnel, so it means if I don't want to go into the main body every time, I can come nice and neatly into here and use it as a quick escape or however you want to utilize it as well. Also, things to mention is actually we've got a hanging point for lanterns located right in the center of the actual awning. And there's also, Vango's got their SkyTrack system that runs across the top. Gives you the opportunity to have things like running flexible lighting on the top or hanger points for lanterns. You get these little clips supplied with it included, or you can do storage organizers. So you can really kind of pick and choose how you best want to utilize it as well. In fact, let's bring the camera in and get a bit more close and personal with the model. So first and foremost, let's have a look on the outside of it and talks about how kind of it fits. Like I said, we've got a 2.5 by 2.5 meter structure. Going down to what I've done is done a good job, if I will say so myself, of attaching it to the van itself. So what you can't see really here is a bundle of all of the points. I've managed to utilise the Velcro straps on this, a little hack really, to, oops, I've only got one hand, this doesn't help for. There we go. To just take up that extra slack. So what I've done there is, because we're using it for something that isn't as probably as quick as it should be, I've almost wrapped up straps on these entirely here. So what we've got is the webbing strap points located here. So this is kind of the point we're going to use to extend it. So we'll drop it down and you see how straight away we've gained extra fabric. And depending on which loop you go with, depends on how tight it can kind of fold over and keep it all nice and tidy. So, and you then collect the webbing strap which goes to the front of the vehicle, either kind of here or here, depending on how wide you want to see the tunnel can be. So that gives you a bit of an idea to kind of the fit. I'm actually impressed to do that one-handed. And then we just bring the straps nice and neatly over to the front of the vehicle itself. So you see when it's kind of on it, how it kind of wraps around and fits quite snugly. Like I said, we could also enter the side door here if we really wanted to, but you see sort of how far I've gone back on the vehicle to make it there. And naturally, the further you go back, obviously, the less room you've got in that kind of tunnel section. We've got obviously the crystal clear windows and into the main body. And like I say, we've got enough room in the height of the tunnel section here, so we can more than happily, plenty of play, fits quite snugly. I mean, I've loosened this and pegged on the sides. It's not as sharp as it should be, but you can see how tight that kind of fits. And generally, I'm quite impressed with the overall fit of it, really, if you ask me. Go and pop that tailgate back up. Just excuse the mess of the car. But you can see from the inside, there's enough room really for that door to be in place. As we come, we've also got the hanging point for a lantern, which is located in the heart of the actual awning itself, and it's the beading that kind of allows you to have the little track system directly onto it. Just getting a bit more focus on there. There you go. There you go. So that's the beading itself. So like the little clips go nip onto there and then create a hanging point for a lantern. And then from the inside, you can see how we've got the ground sheet. So it is a bathtub style, so it kind of lips up and there's toggle points in the corner just to kind of make it sort of overlap. So you get that full front, and then you've got obviously the PVC window with the curtain up on the right hand side here. And as we look to the left, that's obviously with the view. So you can pick and choose, and obviously the one straight ahead of us is a dead panel. So it would be the same kind of ilk as this side here as well. And with little Velcro tabs, tabs at the top here, so when we roll the tunnel section back, it will just stay up in a bundle at the top there as well. Even a point there for a lantern if you really want to, so you've got something inside kind of the main body. And on the whole, I think the addition of having it, the flexibility of actually having it on a car as well as a camper, I think just opens opportunities. There's also, if you wanted a fixed version, they do the Arden, which is again something more like this. Designed again, it can be put onto the side of the vehicle. Just to give you an idea, I've done a separate video on that if you want to see it. But again, that will also go on the back, but it's not drive away. So that's where something like the tailgate hub, being a driveway model, I think has a bit more versatility, something a bit nicer. Yeah, I think it just sits well, got the functionality, the flexibility. And for me, I'm quite, like I said, generally impressed with being on the lower end of the scope. And if you look at probably some of the photos that Vango have done on their own SUV when they've attached to their own videos, I don't think it looks half as good as what I've done there, really. If it will blow my own trumpet. But the flexibility, like I said, the tunnel section is never always going to look that great. I think it's the main ability is just having something that gives you a little bit of shelter into the main hub. And officially, like I said, the main fitment height is 180 to 210. Now, my vehicle's 160. The main width is 190 to 120. My vehicle's 110. So I've gone lower than the recommendation. I still think it works to a certain degree. So naturally, obviously, the better and higher you are on the bracket, the more you pad out that gap, the better it's always going to look. But if you want more information, of course, check the link below this video. It'll take you straight through to our website. We've got more information on things like pack sizes, floor dimensions, individual features, you'll check out our own pitching and packing video that I've also done as well, sort of talking you through the whole process of pitching it and tweaking it, and just moving it about as well. So have a look at that. Hopefully that's helpful as well. But if you have more questions or queries, feel free to, I wonder where the dog was then. Feel free to let us know in the comments box below. It'd be always good to have feedback from you guys as well. But I think on the whole, I think there's two new ranges. It's good specification. You've got this track system. There's good features involved in it. You've got flexibility. It will fit a multiple amount of vehicles. You can use it on your car, then use it on your camper van later on. I think it's got a lot of plus points to it. I think the only thing, I think, if you are putting it on the side of a vehicle, please bear in mind that when you open the sliding door, it probably won't open fully within that tunnel section. So that's probably one thing that's to be aware of. But then because it's more orientated for the back of a vehicle, it's a small little thing to make sure when you slide the door open, you have the bit more flexibility in the side that it can graze past. So that's one thing just to be aware of. But on the whole, I think it ticks a lot of boxes. From a price point wise, it's quite decent. It's, I think it's good value for money. But yeah, so that's been our little video review on the Vango Tailgate awning, hub awning. If you have, feel free to let us know what you think. But have a check link below for more details and the latest pricing offer we do. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully it's been helpful, and we'll see you again soon in our next Attwoolls Outdoors video review.